Hi everyone. This is Paragon One. This is talking about libertarians with SA Goons or whatever the fuck we call it. Uh, I have with me Caros, WhoWhatNow, and TLM 3101.
Yes.
I hope I got that right. Please speak up and say what bullshit property right system you submit to, and so people can know who's talking, who's who when talking.
I'm WhoWhatNow, and I still subscribe to capitalism.
Controversial. Next.
Oh, that would be me. I'm TLM 3101. I subscribe to Marxism, where the workers control the means of production and huge amounts of state ownership of everything.
I'm Caros. I'm still a fan of Mongol-based economics, but for this we're going to go with state socialism. I like my healthcare. I like some capitalism in there too. Yeah, throw a little bit of everything.
And I'm something jokes about all divine authority coming from the Pope. Anyway, so we had a little false start just now. So we're gonna try again. If anyone else shows up, I'm just going to tell them to go away and have them hate me forever and call me a bad poster on SA. So nothing new. Okay.
The
yes.
worst punishment.
So let's see here. First up, we have context. So, who wants to tell me why we're here specifically? Okay.
I got this. Okay. So I'm gonna give a basic rundown of the various branches of libertarianism, and then we'll go from there so that listeners who don't know what the hell we're talking about can know what the hell we're talking about. So the one thing you have to remember about libertarians is you put 10 libertarians in a room, you're going to have 10 different versions of libertarian, and each one will tell you that the others are, the no true libertarian. This happens with J-Rod, this happens with basically any libertarian I've ever met. This isn't something specific to libertarianism, but it's just ideological thinking that isn't grounded in practical use. You see the same thing on the far left, like you got those Virginia Marxist group that's laying into Bernie Sanders because he's not socialist enough, which is just batshit. In my opinion, and I know there's alternate ones, it's basically just the result of never having to put rubber to road. When you're a fringe ideology, you're allowed to say whatever you want, make whatever utopian claims you'd like to edge out people who don't follow your brand. You see the same tendency in party politics, but at least there, you have some real specific details that need to be ironed out. If I think Jim Webb, people can look at Jim Webb and go, is that guy really a Democrat? Because, he seems to be talking a lot about stabbing people and shit. Vietnam. Anyways, because of this trend, it's really hard to describe libertarians as more than just general branches. I have the ones in the OPA Libertarian thread as an example, but for this I'm going to defer to the expert, Walter Block, who thinks there are 4 types of libertarians in descending order of crazy. You got your anarcho-capitalists, your minarchists, your constitutionalist libertarians, or paleo-conservatives, and your classical liberals. I could probably go on for a day for each of them, but I'll do it in a few sentences or less, and then I'll be done rambling. Anarcho-capitalists are simple jack. They've gone full retard. Don't ever go full retard. They believe taxation is theft, which means government is de facto immoral, since the only way to pay for government services is theft. The guiding light of anarcho-capitalists is the non-aggression principle, which is you should never initiate violence under any circumstance, and violence is described as whatever I don't like. In their opinion, everything has to be voluntary, which includes policing, roads, medical care, or the army, you name it. Then you got your minarchists. Minarchists are, the I am Sam of libertarians. Still retarded, but less so. Most of them buy into everything that's said by an ANCAP, but with the exception they aren't stupid enough to believe things that are, things like policing and military can be done privately. Ayn Rand is my favorite minarchist because she wants to slash the shit out of public services, but also have the police around to brutalize the poors. You got the constitutionalist libertarians, who are basically people like Rand Paul and the majority of the Libertarian Party, or the constitutionalist libertarians. Anyways, this bunch is really hard to qualify because they're all over the place. I think they're best described as the leave me the fuck alone libertarians. These are also the ones who are states' rights people, who believe we shouldn't have civil rights. You shouldn't have to feed a black man if he walks into a restaurant, and they do talk an awful lot about segregation. And then you got classical liberals. I got no fucking idea who these guys are. Milton Friedman
Anything I can do
is a
for you?
decent example. He's basically the only example I could find. And as far as I can tell, they're basically just minarchists who also happen to believe that we could maybe allow for social services from time to time. They aren't very funny or entertaining because apart from the sloppy blowjob of capitalism, they're not really awful people. And that's the end of my rant. Apparently we have some good people joining us.
Great.
So.
Yeah. Wow. Let's see.
If I could chime in real quick, ANCAPs are not against all violence. They're specifically against initiatory violence. Retaliatory violence is
We will get into
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Thank you for that stunning breakdown, Caros. I can only assume you are full of care.
That was a good correction.
I can only assume you are full of care and take this way too seriously. And we should all laugh at you on the forums for knowing things. Yeah. So thank you for outing yourself as a person who knows stuff about things.
Damn it, my
I'm
one
a
weakness.
tryhard.
Yeah, he's trying harder than me, so he's a tryhard. Yeah. So moving on, you got a pretty good idea there. Caros was pretty thorough, so I have nothing more to say about. These are the people we are talking about. You've probably seen, their Cash for Gold
What was
ads.
that? I'm sorry.
Right. So, awkward transition on to the next topic. Where does all of this crazy bullshit coming from? Who first thought of all this stupid shit, and why do they feel the need to inflict it on us? In theory, what's the academic underpinnings of libertarianism, if anyone?
Somebody else want to take this? Because I can rant for days.
As near as I can tell, there was once a man called something von Mises, and they named it
Ludwig, come on, Ludwig. It's such an obstinate name. You can't miss that. Ludwig von Mises.
Yes. I don't know how to pronounce Austrian names because I'm not a super Hitler fan. Sorry. I'm very proud of my ignorance, sir.
Continue.
So, yeah. Came along and was doing some economic theorizing. When about Caros? Sorry, Caros. It's Caros.
He was active at about the same time as John Maynard Keyes. He was running around at the same, the early 1900s era. He proposed his version of economics at basically the same time. He was proposing it in Austria, but he was actually working for the early fascist government of Austria. Fun fact. Then he left, and I believe he went to Britain, but I don't have it in front of me. He traveled around for a little bit and started rambling about his theories. Came to America for a little bit, and libertarians get very, very upset when you point out to them that because they argue that Austrian economics never really got a fair shake, except it was introduced at the exact same time as Keynesian economics. It's just the Keynesian economics.
Yeah.
So Mises. Go ahead.
It should be noted here that the reason I got involved in this discussion was that the watermelon romancer that we are talking about here, or who inspired this chat, actually tried to make that point, and I did some cursory digging and discovered that Von Mises was actually published a couple of years before Keynes made his contribution to economics, and yeah.
But nobody speaks German.
No, he was published in English.
Says J-Rod.
He was published in English before Keynes.
You and your facts.
Yeah, he was published. He was published in English before Keynes, and he had the bonus of being the one of the the head economists for the Austrian government during the Great Depression. It turns out the Austrian government didn't want to follow his advice because they're not that shit-tarded. I don't know. Then again, it is worth mentioning Mises isn't even that crazy, but I'll let you continue.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the historical, context of this is, shit's going wrong everywhere because people decide short selling, and buying on margin's a great idea. A lot of really old assumptions about economics are not holding true. So people are proposing new models. We adopt Keynes' model because it seemed to fit reality. But and this is really so Mises is fair to say is the Austrian in Austrian economics, right? Yeah,
That's correct.
So, decades late. Like, I don't know how much longer this Chicago. I think the next big bullet point in this is the Chicago school coming along for.
Yeah, and the Chicago school is based off of people who work directly with von Mises. Yep. Friedman, for example, had worked alongside von Mises, and a lot of his ideas come from that.
So so you have these guys, coming in, and they're proposing policy, and because they have to actually propose policy, they tend to be a little less fucking insane. But it's still a bunch of bullshit based on nothing that doesn't work. So there we go. But these are the guys who, if I'm remembering right, start up a lot of. This is where a lot of our fun libertarian think tanks come from. And rich people who think those Chicago guys are onto something.
Well,
go ahead.
Part of it is based around the idea that you had the Austrian schools sort of taking off, and you also have to keep in mind within the historical context, the Austrian school is the school that says capitalism is the shit, capitalism is the best, which is why you get people like I can't remember his name, Fred Koch, the father of the Koch brothers. He was with the John Birch Society, which was a super racist group with a whole bunch of fun anti-communist
There's a whole
ideas.
The Birch group's a whole fun nexus of shitty Americans, but please continue.
Yeah, they're sort of proto-libertarians in their own right, and Fred Koch was big on that whole thing. Now, it's fun to note that Fred Koch made almost all of his money working in the Soviet Union. That's where the Koch brothers' fortune comes from, is from oil wells or oil deals they made with the Soviet Union. But the gist of it is that your nexus of libertarianism started around the 1950s. It has a lot of white supremacist roots. It has a lot of anti-communism roots, but the largest aspects of it come directly from big business wanting to have an ideology set that says big business is okay, big business is good and great, and we should love big business.
What we're doing is cool,
and Austrian economics
and it's bullshit
was a fun
that
way.
You guys can tell us that we can't put feces in our meat.
If I could interject real quick, I had always thought that the Koch brothers had just sprung up, fully formed from some sort of earthen womb, like the Urk High. I had never really given serious thought
with
to
dark
the fact
magics.
that they had a father.
Yes, sadly.
So I learned something today.
That's the sad truth of it all. Is every time you see someone with a shitty opinion, they were born just the same way as you were, probably.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning that some of the libertarian aspects also come from much further back than Mises. Like, anarcho-capitalism is this historical hodgepodge of fucking crazy. A lot of its ideology comes from things like the early classical. What the fuck's his name?
Edmund
help me
Burke.
help. You know this one. No, it's the
the guy.
Lysander Spooner.
Yeah,
that
I was about
asshole.
to say. Yeah.
Yeah, like they come
I've
from
noticed
people like Lysander
libertarians
Spooner who
when
argue,
they're even more on the
who happen
fringe
to
than they
argue
already
that
are,
slavery was
and
bad,
I think this might be a common practice
and
amongst
also
libertarians
that
in general.
all
They-
government
they
is
try
bad.
to
So,
claim,
hey, look, we have a guy who says
older
slavery is
groups and
bad.
theories that
Therefore,
aren't really
libertarians can
related
never
to
be
them.
racist. Sorry.
As they're the rightful inheritors
Yeah.
to give themselves more legitimacy, because they don't have legitimacy from being adopted in practice like more mainstream ideologies do.
Well, and some of them, like Lysander Spooner, he's not necessarily an illegitimate figure, and he's attached to anarcho movements that were themselves sort of legitimate. It's just that he was crazy in his own time. So pointing to him and going, "See, we have this classical history of blah blah." No, he was still sort of nuts.
But you also see guys like J-Rod pointing to old, say we're the true inheritors of the liberal Enlightenment, But I believe TLM was trying to speak.
Yeah, if I may, I really hate when people like J-Rod try to appropriate Lysander Spooner, because as crazy and nuts as he was part of the first International. He actually talked to and worked alongside Karl fucking Marx and Friedrich Engels, trying to bring down capitalism in total, and trying for the libertarians then to try and appropriate him as somehow an avatar or a proto-libertarian is absolutely obscene. Yes, the man was nuts, but he stood against pretty much everything that libertarians are for. If he had been alive to see what the libertarians are trying to do to his legacy, such as it is, he would be fucking livid.
Yes.
I think Caros even said that if he had seen what J-Rod was writing about him, he'd punch him in the throat.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems to be one of the things that legit pisses off people who know who these people are. I, again, am proud of my ignorance, so don't know much about Lysander Spooner, but congratulations, J-Rod. Your stupid bullshit makes people legit angry in real life. Well done. So that's not me making fun of you for being angry either. That's me saying, fuck you, J-Rod.
It's just
so that's yeah. Go ahead.
Facts matter. The historical record matters. And if you try to rewrite history in that sense and to that degree, you're being maliciously dishonest and deluding yourself. And
doing some real Ministry of Truth shit there.
Yes, huh? And this is no way to construct a coherent ideology, is what I'm saying.
Well, historical revisionism.
Maliciously dishonest? Never.
That would be aggression. Right? Okay, so moving. So today, libertarians today, we're saying where they've been, where they are. Who are the libertarians now, like in practice, trying to influence policy and their push their ideology and get elected within America at least? If anyone cares to field this,
it's tough to say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, somebody else take it.
Well, I would say that's a difficult question because a lot of them would be called, I guess you could say, linos, libertarians in name only, by
just people who want
libertarians who aren't in politics. Yeah,
you'd say. Okay. Well, yeah. So the vast majority of people who would call themselves libertarian, probably like the vast majority of anyone who would describe themselves as anything, are mostly politically inactive. So we can pretty safely ignore them, including people like ANCAPs, because they're not even participating in government. So you see most of the ones that do vote, fair to say, end up voting Republican, right? If only because Ron Paul is Republican. So we should probably get to who Ron Paul... Yeah, that's it. Who the fuck is Ron Paul, and why do we keep hearing about him?
Oh, God.
Well, he has a kick-ass blimp.
Like...
He did have a kick-ass blimp.
This is a question I'm sure everyone who's listening could probably answer, but I feel we're being remiss if we don't address the subject, because these are like... Ron Paul and his son Rand Paul are the people claiming, this ideology while actually sitting in office, aside from Sam Brownback is his name? Governor? Yeah.
Well, I don't even think Sam Brownback actually calls himself a libertarian. At least he didn't the last I checked.
He just really fucking hates that.
Ron and Rand Paul are...
Go ahead.
Yeah, Ron and Rand Paul are two people who Rand Paul is basically Ron Paul the Lesser. They're basically just libertarians who decided to jump in. They looked at libertarian politics, and they looked at Republican politics, and they went, let's go with Republican politics. It's the same as the not to digress for a minute from the point, but the David Koch ran as a libertarian candidate at one point. Now he spends all of his money on Republicans because he realized that people who run as libertarians can't win because it's a two-party system. Rand Paul is a libertarian, probably a constitutionalist type libertarian who runs as a Republican because that's the only way he can get elected. He's most famous for his quixotic presidential campaigns where he runs and then loses but makes a lot of money, so then he runs and loses and makes a lot of money and gets a lot of fame for himself. His son is currently running for president, but that won't last very long because his son is really, really shitty compared to his dad. And their most well-known beliefs are really awful. I mean, Rand Paul has the newsletters, which most politicos would know about, but basically he wrote a bunch of newsletters in the 1990s with his name all over them talking about really racist shit, and then decided to maybe walk that back once he was running for president. And his son's the very first day he was in office, like he got elected, or not in office, but the day he was elected, he was on Rachel Maddow's show, and they had a 10-minute exchange where he talked about how he thought the Civil Rights Act was problematic because allowing forcing property owners to allow black people to eat at their restaurants. That's serious business.
Yeah, that's unnecessary government intrusion. It should be worth noting that while from libertarians you'll often hear, sort of, we're socially liberal. We want, people to be able to smoke weed and marry who they want. Yeah, and marry who they want and all that. But when the guys who they're electing, when it comes time to actually vote for stuff, they tend to have like the furthest right possible voting record, like way more so than your arch conservatives, even often.
Well, it's because they don't want
Ron
the federal
Paul is all about
government
freedom,
to
except in your
choose
room.
anything.
Yep. Sorry, things got a little muffled there. Was somebody else trying to say something?
I just said Ron Paul is all for freedom except with the womb.
It's state with Ron Paul specifically. I really get the impression that he's all about states' rights and only states' rights. Like he doesn't care about your rights. He likes the state's rights. Like the state can do whatever it wants. Yeah. So, maybe some mismatch between what a lot of libertarians are saying they value and what they end up valuing in practice.
Speaking of which,
there's...
Sorry. I, as a European, first encountered Ron Paul during the 2008 presidential election, and I fell victim to what's called the 5-minute rule, which is basically that if you listen to Ron Paul speak for about 5 minutes, he will manage to sound somewhat reasonable. And then he will just go off into the Twilight Zone and say something completely batshit fucking insane. So for a while there, I was actually going, yeah, this doesn't sound too Wait, what? And that's when I discovered that, libertarianism was, first of all, a thing, outside of, bad science fiction, and second of all, that people actually believe this shit. And they are apparently running for president of the United States. What the fuck is going on?
Yep.
And they're not even the craziest ones
Which
running.
is scary as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah, so aside from libertarians within the Republican Party, you also have, there's a Libertarian Party and, Constitution Party and a whole bunch of, people who've split off from these other people, but it's it sort of matches what you see on the radical left with, people basically, cults of personality and people splitting off over what seem like very minor differences in ideology, especially in the face of their massive unpopularity. It reminds me of
It's
nothing.
also why Bernie Sanders is running as a Democrat and not as a socialist.
It reminds me seeing the history of the Constitution Party reminds me nothing so much quite as looking at the history of the Communist Party in the U.S. within the last 50 or so years. Although at least the Communist Party has the excuse of being heavily repressed for a long ass time. Whereas,
well, it is worth mentioning that the Libertarian Party does actually not poll horribly. They tend to pull in about 1 to 2% of the popular vote in any given election year, which honestly,
for a third party, that's pretty damn
mean,
good.
That's really shitty. Yeah, they're basically the third. They're basically the third party in the U.S. It's just that they do really crappy. Personally, I love keeping them happy. I love keeping them active and doing their thing, because every single person who votes Libertarian is pulling a vote from an actual Republican candidate.
First past the post is a thing. Spoiler candidates are a thing, and I love it.
Wah, wah.
So before we move on to libertarianism and practice, like their which is going to be like their suggestions for what we should actually do with real problems in the real world. I'd like to get each of your major objections to libertarianism just purely as a theory, and Austrian economics purely as a theory. Where in your site does it just fail spectacularly? If that's not too much to ask.
Oh boy.
And let's give Caros time to compose his answer. So who what now, if you wouldn't mind going first.
Sure, and this is an easy one. I view libertarians as strictly an immoral ideology, specifically in regards to protecting those who need the most protection, specifically people like racial minorities, the underprivileged classes, sexual minorities, women, and low-wage earners. All of those people just get royally ass-fucked in a libertarian society.
Okay.
And it's no surprise that because of this, most libertarians are white males, usually also pretty affluent.
And so if that's all from Who What Now, TLM, take it away.
Oh boy, where to begin? Who What Now actually took part of my answer, but the main objection, in addition to what Who What Now said, is for me it boils down to the fact that they consider everything a extension of property rights. They seem to build it exclusively from private contract law, which we have tried historically. It was called feudalism, and most of our history since feudalism, or since the Renaissance, has been trying to get as far the fuck away from feudalism as we can, because once you own land and all the people and things in it, you kind of have a system that is both inherently immoral, repressive as fuck, and will just grind everyone except for the very, very tiny percentage on the top into the dirt with extreme prejudice, and that's no way to run a humane society.
And that's when the war started.
Yes.
Because we had a lot of those under feudalism. So please continue if you had anything more.
I think that'll do to start with. But yeah, it's to me it's feudalism with the serial numbers filed off badly. You can still see the fingerprints.
Cool. So, Caros, please.
Healthcare.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, if there's one single thing that would get me to flip off libertarianism, because it did, it's healthcare. The simple fact of the matter is that people need to be able to receive the most basic care for basic things. Like if you have, there's I'm going to use this as an example because it's one of my all-time favorite examples of what the hell's wrong with capitalism in general, but libertarianism in specific. There was a lady I watched a number of years ago. She was doing a report at an Occupy Wall Street protest. She was talking about her dad, and her dad turned out her dad had relatively simple cancer. Like he had like stage 1 or stage 2 cancer. It was something survivable. And he found out he got this diagnosis, and his healthcare didn't cover it. He had the money to pay for it, but he's going to have to sell his house. He's going to have to do this, that, and the other thing. He's going to live his family with a lot of debt. So he decides that he goes home. He cuts up all of his credit cards. He pays all of his bills. Gets everything in order. Writes himself a nice, suicide note, and then shoots himself in the head. And that is the most messed up thing that I've ever heard in a society that could have treated him. It's the Breaking Bad thing. It's, you've got somebody who I know it's fictional, but you got somebody who goes off to make meth. Breaking Bad Canada is, you have cancer. You start your chemo starts in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's obscene to the point that I just get angry even thinking about it, because healthcare is just such a fundamental right. And then once you acknowledge that there are some things that everybody sort of needs to get to live, as soon as you acknowledge that, you have to acknowledge that libertarianism cannot work, because libertarianism, by its definition, will not provide those things. There are going to be losers in libertarianism, and there's nothing, especially in ANCAPism, that provides for those people to survive. And it's wrong. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. You're completely right. So my answer is
I'm apologizing to J-Rod when he hears this, because he's gonna weep a single tear down his cheek.
We're assuming J-Rod is,
and he will hear this.
But my answer is a little more esoteric. For me, libertarianism, as a theory, maybe it's just because it fails to completely account for human beings as animals, as a species. It fails to root itself in biological reality. And how we act when we're alone, how we act in groups, how we act when we're faced with scarcity of something we need to live. Greed. It fails to address greed completely, except for saying it's fucking awesome. And I don't see, a philosophy has to be able to describe reality, right? That's like the first thing it has to do. It has to tell you what reality is, and how you should think about it. And how are you going to do that if you don't really understand, and describe a way for people to live, if you don't really understand what people are, right? Am I talking crazy here, or
No.
But have we brought up praxeology yet? Because I think that would be a great segue.
That's kind of the big thing that we've glossed over. Yeah, that's the central. Please share. Yeah, it's there's a specific word for the type of reasoning they use there. I believe it's called bullshit. Yeah. Okay. God damn it! I was going to do that joke.
Oh, hey, it's you.
Dickeye, I hope you're fucking recording, because otherwise no one's going to be able to hear us talking to you.
Way to go, Dickeye.
Fucking Dickeye.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, maybe if you had showed up on time, you'd be recording.
Yeah.
All right, I'm recording. There we go.
Okay.
I would like to hop in here because it's such a great quote, and because I've just reread the book. One of the things that libertarianism, apart from praxeology, fails to account for is the fact that a lot of the things that have happened in history isn't because people are fundamentally good or fundamentally evil. It's because they're fundamentally people. And
is that Good Omens?
Yes, Good Omens. And
I just read it.
And
oh yeah,
it's
my favorite book.
It is. That quote kind of distills down the most valuable lessons of history and ideology in a single sentence, and it's also one of the reasons why I object to libertarianism, as has been mentioned by others here, that it doesn't describe the real world. It doesn't take into account the fact that people will be people. It works on the assumption that if we just let people be people, everything will work out great. Guess what? We tried. Didn't happen.
Yep, it's
I'm sorry, the 1920s were an amazing golden age of human civilization and rights and freedom, and nobody starved and everyone was middle class. QED.
Charity took care of everyone.
Have you seen the great documentary, Great Gatsby?
Yes.
The and another thing is crap. I blanked on what the fuck I was going to say.
You got
it's
You guys are really burying the lead. The summarizing praxeology is very, very simple. Quote, its statements and propositions are not derived from experience. They are not subject to verification or falsification on the grounds of experience and facts.
It is literally...
That's praxeology in a nutshell.
that...
Praxeology is not subject to verification or falsification on the grounds of experience and facts. If facts prove that praxeology is wrong, it is the facts that are wrong.
You know that that bit Stephen Colbert did when he first started his show about truthiness? That's praxeology.
Yes. Right.
In a nutshell. It is the truth that you feel, not the truth that is actually existing in the world.
I remembered what I was going to say. Libertarians are utopianists. They believe that all the natural forces that we exist in the context of are driving us to perfection, to a better world. So the only reason we don't have that right now is because there must be bad actors fucking things up for everyone because they're, statists or witches or whatever. So if we just move them out of the way and all realize the truth, man, then we will all, get, sex bots and hover cars and giant houses and slaves. Oh, wait, what was that last one? Anyway. Yeah.
Just ignore
I think
it.
you'll find that slaves were only slaves because of the laws, and furthermore...
I forgot how, we'll get to that. We'll get to all of that. But moving on to, I have here, libertarianism in practice. So, we've actually already covered some of that. Can you guys hear the police sirens right now?
Nope.
No.
Cool.
I get his shit.
I have very loud police sirens going on outside.
What?
So yeah, it's another day.
They've found you. Flee immediately.
Nah, I think I'm gonna do the whole going down in a blaze of glory thing. Building's already rigged.
Well, J-Rod's there to stab you is what's going on, and your
Shit.
GRO is there to remove you from the premises before he can murder you, and if you don't, then you're not.
Thank you, South Carolina PD DRO, for enforcing your contract. We had a special request from YF-19 pilot to speak about the Constitution of the United States and First Amendment issues as they relate to libertarians. I believe one thing he was concerned about was if everything's private property, how do you enforce freedom of speech and things of that nature?
You don't?
Yeah.
J-Rod has spoken about this specifically, and he has gone on record saying you don't have any rights except for whatever rights the property owner deems to give you.
But if I am my own property and I own myself, then what if I give myself the right to shoot lasers out of my eyes?
I don't think you know what a right is.
Well, I'm just saying.
I think then again, neither do libertarians.
From the property owner saying what you can do.
This is a classical
and you are
example
your own property.
of positive rights. No. So, yes. Let's see here. I really don't have much to say except libertarians. Some libertarians care about the Constitution, and others don't because it's a state. And Caps in particular don't care. I think your more mainline libertarians are like, hell yeah, everything's going to be great. We can totally still do the Constitution as long as we get rid of the income tax. Was that the?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Your typical constitutionalist libertarian is either, or your typical libertarian who is a fan of the Constitution is usually like a minarchist / paleoconservative. They're the sort of libertarian who likes the government leave me the hell alone aspects and hates everything else about it. So they're your Ron Pauls. Ron Paul loves the Constitution. Ron Paul would give the wettest, sloppiest blowjob you can imagine to the Constitution if it were a man. But he doesn't really, he doesn't jive with the full-on ANCAP craziness. So
Yep.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that a lot of the Constitution defending is their idea of the Constitution and not the actual Constitution.
Yeah.
It's that whole area man.
defense
Yes, exactly. The
There's
onion article.
very
I didn't want to just say that,
Yeah.
but
area man, passionate defender of what he believes the Constitution to be. Yeah.
yeah, that's pretty much the constitutionalist libertarian.
They're less concerned with the Constitution as a functional document guiding how we govern and a law, and more with an
More
ideal.
with what it represents.
They literally worship it in some cases, or as close to worship as they're going to get.
Which is kind of creepy, to me at least, because our Constitution is a living document which we update pretty much constantly. The last time cutting the church away from the state and also adding gay marriage at the same time. But yes, indeed.
Fuck you, Lord Spiritual. Fuck you.
In a rare double whammy decision.
But yes, the Constitution worship that goes on in America is slightly creepy and unnerving to a European like me, because it's supposed to be a document that informs the government and being the foundation for a society. And the founders of the United States Constitution themselves added the amendment process so you guys could update it. I mean, I think it was Jefferson himself who said that it should be scrapped every 30 or 40 years and
I was just about to say
redone.
There's a great
to
quote.
suit the need of the times, and to have it become this sort of static, fossilized, dead document is kind of sad. And seeing libertarians or the minarchist libertarians and the Ron Pauls sort of kneeling in front of it like a golden calf and genuflecting is unnerving, to say the least.
Yeah,
Well, I think my favorite aspect of the Constitution. Sorry for interrupting you, but my absolute favorite thing is the fact that the Second Amendment is an amendment. It's the Second Amendment is immutable. Blah blah blah. No, it's an amendment. They wrote the document, then they added
you
it.
can take it out too
because they realized shit.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up Jefferson, because one person you will see libertarians quote a whole lot if they have to go to the founding fathers is Thomas Jefferson, because the idea of Jeffersonian democracy, citizen farmer, self-sufficient, voting in a small government republic, is something they will say they really like the idea of, ignoring that 2% of people are farmers now in America. And they also will ignore some of the other things that Jefferson said and some of the things that Jefferson did and some of the attitudes he adopted later in his life after he saw the French Revolution go fucking nuts.
Fun fact about that, actually. The French Revolution got its start in the American embassy, it could be argued, to Paris, where Jefferson hosted the intellectual radicals of the time and encouraged them to, kill the monarch. Go ahead, have fun.
Yep, or at least, he's Jefferson tried to broker compromises between factions within the what were they calling it, National Assembly, while it was still going, and most of your political spectrum was still involved. This, obviously did not work.
No.
This obviously did not work out at all. But then Robespierre happens, and lots of guillotining. We make jokes about guillotining on SA, but they did a lot of it for the time. It's not like Stalinist purges level, but you're talking about thousands of people in the span of months being systematically executed.
Yes.
And he saw all that, and he was like, maybe I should rethink this whole Tree of Liberty, Blood of Patriots, and Tyrants sort of thing, because, whoa. But, they just quote, the parts from the American canon, basically.
Yeah.
These are the parts, where Jefferson, they like to quote Jefferson as a, I don't know what the word, religious figure, instead of, as a living human whose opinions changed over time.
Which is fucking hilarious considering the Jefferson Bible.
Yeah. Where it's like, hey guys.
Well, libertarians don't change their opinions, so why would Jefferson?
Yeah, so that's Jefferson tends to be their sort of legitimizing figure for this is why we're this way, and it's not totally not arbitrary, guys. We're founding this on things that came before, because humans like to have continuity in our ideas. We like to point to, well, why is it this way? Because no one wants to just go because some guy said so. Even though that's what it all boils down to, is somebody said something eventually, and then everyone started saying, yeah, okay, and then their kids were like, oh, well, this is how we've always done it, and that's how you get it. But nobody feels comfortable saying that, because we all want to think the way we're doing things isn't just arbitrary, because arbitrariness makes people really fucking uncomfortable. That's not too much of a tangent, but
we are kind of wandering a bit, I think, from the original topic, and partly my fault. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jeffersonian democracy. Oh.
Well, it's part of the rhetoric that you see when they're trying to push their ideas. But let's get back to what we're doing. So who are the guys that we see J-Rod constantly quoting? Who are the major think tanks and
Hans Hermann Hoppe.
Yeah. Who are these
Triple
people?
H.
We got we got Hans Hermann Hoppe. We got
Walter Block.
How about everyone pick their favorite one, and we'll go one at a time.
Oh, jeez.
I dibs on Walter Block.
So if you can't think of one, just say pass.
I got Stefan Molyneux. I am.
Oh, damn it! That's a good one.
Yeah, you missed it, you son of a bitch.
Dickeye, you're new. Go first.
I said Walter Block. Anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can all hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I said Walter Block. I'm going to say because he literally is in favor of being able to sell your children into slavery.
Yep.
Like, that's pretty much all you need to know about him. Should a parent be able to sell their child into slavery? Yes.
Wait, no, that's
that was him, I thought.
No, that's Murray Rothbard. Murray Rothbard,
the guy
was
in
in
J-Rod's
favor
Avatar.
of free.
Yeah. Which one was? I'm sorry, I fucked that up. Then which one was Walter Block?
Walter Block is the guy who the new thread title is for about picking cotton. And how slavery wasn't so bad.
Right. That's right. I'm sorry, I fucked it all up, everybody.
You are literally the worst.
The worst. Yes, I am.
Okay.
Name ain't a joke. Somebody else
Please
go.
do. Who what now? Hit me.
The one I'm most familiar with would probably be Hans Hermann Hoppe, but it is really, really hard for me to keep all of these idiots.
He's a professor at the University of Nevada.
Yeah, he's the one who writes like von Mises, but is actually still alive today.
He doesn't write like von Mises. He writes like a 15th century baron. Like, von Mises still looks like it's English. Like, von Mises looks like, hey, I wrote this thing in the early 1930s. Hans Hermann Hoppe is talking about the natural social elites, which is something that you think the King of France was writing down as justification.
As they sharpen the guillotines.
Why You're All a Bunch of Fuckers by Louis Bourbon.
Actually, that's being unfair to Louis XIV and 15th.
It is. That's 16th.
Yeah. Because Louis XIV, despite saying the state is me, was actually... He actually regretted some of the shit he did when he was dying. He basically said, if I remember correctly, he said, "I have loved war too much and the people too little."
That's cool, TLM, but Monarchy Chat is next.
Okay.
Let's stay the course. But
I think you'll find, though, that Monarchy Chat is actually the end point of Libertarian Chat.
Quite possibly, yes.
He's not wrong.
Yeah. I feel like you get to feudalism, then you get to absolute monarchy, then you get back to where we are, with some murder along the way. But TLM, since you're already speaking, please tell us who your favorite ANCAP nut job is.
Well, since it was already brought up, Rothbard, because being able to sell your children into slavery, I mean... How blatant do you have to do that? Do you have to get to prove that your ideology is morally bankrupt? That's it. I mean, just underline that and move on.
Just say it's fair to say if you can use your philosophy to justify selling children, it's probably a crap philosophy.
Yes, I would say that. I would say that emphatically. Because I'm not a monster.
We could go. I sort of meant for us to go into who these people are, but I realized if we went into who they are and why they're shitty hypocrites, we'll be here forever. So let's move on to Caros, and then we'll move on to just talking about J-Rod, which is what I think we're all here for.
Yes.
Caros.
Stefan Molyneux. The man is like, he's like some sort of libertarian crack for my brain, because just every so often I'll be like, I'm not angry enough today, and I'll go on YouTube and I'll find the real story about Trayvon Martin or why women are whores, and it just he summarizes everything that annoys me about Jrodefeld, because I can post and I can say, hey, this guy said that women throw their vaginas out like boomerangs to capture men so that they don't have to work. And Jrodefeld will respond to me and say, well, that's not proof that he's a misogynist. And
not just disavow the guy like a normal person.
Well, that's the thing is, though, he refuses, and it's so astonishing to me, because he will refuse to, disown the guy. Like, he'll say, well, I don't like that specific belief, or I don't like that, that tone that he's taking. But what he'll never do is just say, you know what, you're right, this guy's an asshole, I don't like his ideas anymore, I'm going to move on. He'll always defend him, and it's true of everything. Like, it's true of the I suppose I'll use this as a segue. Yeah, it's true of Hans Hermann Hoppe, but it's a good segue into J-Rod just in general. His most recent thing with the UAE and slavery and whatnot. He's presented with facts saying, hey, your study says slavery is bad. He can't admit he's wrong. Can't admit he's wrong. And Molyneux is just the perfect thing for that. He's not a racist. Sure, he says horribly racist things. He's not a misogynist. Sure, women throwing their vaginas like boomerangs and women are the root of all evil. That's not misogyny. Come on.
Yeah, which is a great segue into our main event, I suppose. The part I was actually this is the quote unquote segment that I was sort of nervous about including, because isn't it cool to get like 5 people online to just talk shit about this one non-famous, non-public real person, and we all decide that yes it is, because this guy's a fucker. So the reason we talked about all that shit is so you know where the guy we're talking about is coming from. He goes by Jrodefeld on Something Awful and on the rest of the internet, which he has also been banned from. And he
which is incredible to me, that we're like the last forum for him to get banned from. He still is. It's
because we're paid for him and we want his money.
But if we banned him, he'd have to pay to keep talking to us.
It's like, how much?
Well, so we should ban him and get his money.
Someone do me a huge favor.
The thing is, he hasn't been banned in over a year and a half.
Yeah, he hasn't been banned since the last thread, the old thread.
He should rightfully be banned now because he broke containment. And he's doing that shit that he keeps getting banned for. But so we should probably talk to Ahmad about that. But before we get into if anyone would care to do me a huge favor and find J-Rod's leper colony, his rap sheet on SA.
Oh yeah, I got that.
I can get that real quick.
That would be great, because we definitely should go through that.
If you give me 2 seconds, I've got it right here.
I greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, right here. So his first one is just a probation with a picture of a man in a Chewbacca suit holding a "Don't Tread on Me" sign, standing behind a Ron Paul for President 2008 sign in a snowbank. But all of them are just trolling, shove about libertarianism and the American leftist thread, abandoned thread, worst poster. Here we go. Gimmick or the stupidest person in the universe. If he comes back and posts 1 million words on a dozen topics and says, I look forward to debate, ban him again because I warned him twice already.
Yep. So how many?
And I think that is the one you really
You skipped
need.
over the best two. You skipped over the best two, though. Backseat modding at 7:40 a.m. and then whining the mods haven't done anything yet at 7:47 a.m.
That's my
on
favorite.
a Tuesday.
That's my favorite one, but I really like the.
That's my favorite band because I was there for that. Like I woke up and I'm looking at the thread and it's like, oh, these mods aren't doing anything about these people talking shit about me. 7 minutes later, oh, these stupid mods aren't doing it.
I think my favorite is the man in the Wookiee suit because it's just beautiful.
So,
I mean,
if you guys could just give me some numbers here, how many times total has he been banned from SA? Which is for
3 bands.
and for the readers, to be clear, he has had AVs each time as well. So that's at least what, $45, something like that.
$60, I think.
The Avatar is 5 if you buy it, I think, or is it 10 if you buy it, 15 for somebody else?
I think it's 5 and 10.
Okay, yeah, so
Because
that's
I know,
30. That's
Jim was talking about
$45
that the other day.
Yes,
at least.
at least. I don't know if he ever got plat or not. If he's like ever,
I don't think
if
he
he
did.
report, if yeah, so that's another $10, right?
Yeah, per time.
So he's coming up on like $100 spent on SA.
If he's, I don't think he has plat.
Yeah, it's
No, he doesn't have plat now. I don't
Okay.
think he's ever had.
I don't
these
think
two
so.
$50, whatever.
slash cheap. But yeah, he spent like $50 to argue libertarianism because we're basically the only place on the internet where he won't get immediately banned.
And this is
Also, it's worth
really
noting
quite
all of
astonishing.
his bans are within about a 4-month stretch. The first one is on July 30th of 2013, and his last actual ban was December 6th of 2013.
Ish.
So within 4 months, he was banned 3 times and re-regged all 3 times.
Yeah, I think that was the point where Xylo was just getting fed up with his shit.
Yes. Yeah, because that last one with the gimmick or the stupidest person in the universe was requested by Xylo, and that's actually a screen cap from the mod notes for the for the band.
And when did
It's amazing.
when was his like what date was like his first probation? Because I'm sure it happened not long after you
first
regged.
probation was November 10th of 2012, and according to this, he registered September 21st of that.
So yeah, we've been putting up with this
So give me, like, a
motherfucker for
month and a
3
half.
years now. And he goes away for periods, but he always comes back, like the clap. But
He is the Messiah, come
Yes.
to deliver us from sanity.
yes, there's the love-hate relationship
No
here because he
boredom.
gives us so much goddamn red meat to
so
get
much
angry at. But it should also be noted that this is not the only website that he's tried this on.
He does it everywhere.
He has been banned throughout the political internet, and probably some of the non-political internet.
Yeah, that was the point where I realized he wasn't trolling because I googled his name. I was curious. He'd been gone for a couple months, and I'm like, okay, what's he doing? And so I googled, and there's just like literally, we were talking about this before we started up the recording. The very first Google search result, if you search his name, is Jrodefeld has been banned from this location.
Wait, what?
Seriously, Google Jrodefeld.
Yeah,
I have
it's-
the results up right
yeah,
now.
Google Jrodefeld.
Yes.
Actually,
Oh my God.
So, let me read off some of the greatest hits for you. Jrodefeld banned, straight dope message board. Having picked up 8 warnings since May, Jrodefeld has been notified that his posting privileges have been permanently revoked.
And that was posted in. Let's get an actual date on that, just because sometimes that's wrong. It was posted in September of 2014.
No, that's
so
September
in 6
2010. No, that's 2010.
I'm sorry, yeah, I read
There's
that
a-
wrong.
There's an
But
at
the-
Jrodefeld on Twitter,
yeah.
but this is just somebody whose last name is Rodefeld. That starts with J. It's not this guy, so please don't bother them.
He's got a Reddit page. Well, there's somebody with a Reddit page, but I don't think it's him. Oh, it won't even come up.
Yeah,
anymore,
let's
never
not
mind.
go full internet detective on this because that's
Yeah.
worked out so well.
And so we're just trying to give you a picture of this person. Like, it's not just one guy trolling us and we're falling for it and making a fucking Google Hangout to talk about how bad he is and ha ha ha.
Yeah,
You
I
put
mean,
No,
we've
no, no,
got
no.
a
This-
Rev Left page. We've got debatepolitics.com. Here we go. DemocraticHub.com. And if you go to his actual page, political views, I believe in non-aggression and self-ownership. Latest forum threads active in, I am a libertarian, come debate me.
so if he is a troll, he's
I
trolling
am-
the whole fucking internet with the same goddamn gimmick.
He basically posted the same basic thread on this other forum. I don't think he's only made like 10 posts on this forum, and they're all in this thread.
Which
Oh yeah. Well, if you do any look for him at all, you'll find that he does this everywhere. It's his thing, and props to him. I got to give him credit for volume. If
I do not
nothing
give him
else.
credit because this is fucking forums terrorism. Okay.
Yeah, he's got like this Tom Hartman website's got like 5 links that pop up on the first page, and then a more results button, which is never. A
So
good
I know
sign.
we're seeking out Jrodefeld on the wider internet, but as a disclaimer, please do not go take pictures of Jrodefeld's real house and talk about how you want to wear his scalp as a condom or whatever. Please don't do that.
Load-bearing free market.
Yeah,
Don't be fucking creeps, is what we're saying.
Yeah.
A free market in Jrodefeld's skin.
Like,
God.
I would just say don't be creeps, but I feel people all too often need that to be defined for them. So
Yeah.
hence my odd specificity. Yeah. So this is the sort of, surely by now, if you're listening, if you don't already know who he is, and I can't imagine how you don't. How you found this, I don't know. Maybe they're like refugees from other forums that have been brutalized by Jrodefeld's shitty posting, who will find this on YouTube while searching his name. But unlikely. But I felt the need that we should cover who he is before we talk about why he sucks.
I think my favorite thing about who he is and why he sucks is not just that he never admits that he's wrong. It's that he's such a smug prick about it.
Oh yeah.
Like, he's a smug prick, and then he's incredibly condescending, and there's just something I can't even define it. Like, it's a certain je ne sais quoi.
The definition can be found in my thread avatar. Ask me why I'm a libertarian, so you can condescendingly tell me that clearly that can't be why you're no longer a libertarian.
Yeah, that's like the perfect example. You can't be it can't be you're not a libertarian because you watched a friend die.
That's not nearly traumatic
your ex
enough.
must have been a libertarian. Yeah,
You must have broke up with some
That doesn't
crazy
make
libertarian bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
But which was just that was like, there's like 3 times where I've been genuinely, truly like, please kill yourself, Jrodefeld. I'm being entirely fucking serious right now. That was one of the times. The other time was the anti-vax shit, and then it's really 2 times that immediately come to mind.
Yeah, you're much more reasonable over voice chat than when you're just poking.
Well, I mean, it's like, I'm not gonna put effort into talking to this guy. Come on, it's like, I know I'm not gonna get anything back
true.
beyond even especially if I post reasonably. My God,
it took me a while to learn that lesson.
So just make fun of him for the benefit of others.
I've learned, and
I still have the problem.
Just to go back a little bit, if you are a refugee from a forum that has been brutalized by Jrodefeld, help is out there. It gets better as soon as his shitty posting is removed and he can no longer brutalize your internet space. We understand and we support you.
But then you are deprived of the humor.
Yes. Thank you for that. That was very touching.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing that with us. It's a beautiful human moment here at Libertarian Chat. Now, let's talk about J-Rod's inhuman beliefs and what he believes specifically, if you don't mind. What specific kind? Jrodefeld calls himself an anarcho-capitalist. So, if anyone would care to share with us what specifically that is, so I don't mangle it.
Lincoln started the Civil War as an act of violence.
That's probably all you need to hear, frankly.
I'm not wrong. He
has literally argued that. Yes. If there's a bad person in the world who did bad things,
they were statist.
They were either statist or Jrodefeld is going to explain to you why they aren't actually bad and also not statists. As in the case of, say, Southern secessionists. But
look, it's not fueled by racism. It's about the heritage of also their racism. But they're not racist, guys. They just want to be able to own slaves.
I am not very far at all.
There's nothing that says those slaves have to be black. So it's not racist. It's just business.
No, you're mischaracterizing him there. I have to defend Jrodefeld for a second. Jrodefeld isn't defending Southern slavery, and it's not heritage or hate for him. No. The issue with Jrodefeld is that if Lincoln hadn't invaded the South, because Lincoln started the Civil War because he wanted to oppress the South. That was his thing.
Right.
The South seceded, and Lincoln said, you know what? No, they don't get to leave. They don't get to leave. And Lincoln went in there and kicked the shit out of them. That had nothing to do with slavery. The Civil War was completely not at all about slavery. It was about states' rights.
Yes, yes.
To own
States'
slaves.
rights to own slaves. Yes. Which was it, Mrs.
You're not supposed to say that part.
Which wait, here's the best part. Was it Mississippi? There's one of the southern states that seceded specifically cited we want to be able to own slaves.
They all did. When they
I didn't know
signed
if they
the
all
thing
did.
that made the CSA.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought it was like some
well,
of them like in their specific like this is
That-
our
that is
words.
also
We're
true.
saying this Mississippi.
also true,
Like
yes.
Mississippi
The state-
specifically said, "I want to be able to own slaves." Fuck off, Whitey.
more or less.
And-
Quote,
I mean-
we stand firmly in the defense of slavery, with the greatest institution of human progress. I believe is the. It's a bit of a paraphrase, but yeah, it's fun.
But-
anyways,
Human progress,
anarcho-capitalism.
slavery.
Anarcho-capitalism. Anybody want to handle this?
I'll give it a shot, just
Not
so
it.
we can all laugh at how badly I'm doing. The anarcho-capitalists are people who believe that there should be no state at all, hence the anarcho, and that capitalism should be the guiding light of how we do things, and that we must respect private property rights above all. Not only that we should respect them above all else, but that, in fact, all other rights are derived from private property rights, which is, holy shit, fucking insane. But you'll find this is a common refrain when talking about anarcho-capitalists, because they are on the extreme fringe. These are people who are. I'm pointing my hand out in real life, even though you can't see this, like out to the horizon, telling you these are guys who are just way out there. As far even as far as libertarians, and libertarianism is not really a mainstream ideology to begin with. So, yeah. And they also, they go whole hog. Austrian economics is correct. Praxeology is the basis of everything, and that's how we derive private property rights. Even though this goes from paper thin to having giant holes in it, depending on who you're talking to. And just it's the full on, fiat money is a lie. Buy gold. The whole thing.
Pure strain.
You also get a lot of these are the guys where you start to see mixing in with a lot of your conspiracy theorists and outright mentally ill people.
Well, you gotta get the non-aggression principle in there.
Right.
The
That's-
non-aggression
yeah.
principle is
That's what he'll go
is
to,
the
yeah.
key defining feature of anarcho-capitalism.
Right.
The non-aggression principle is the principle that says you cannot initiate violence against other people. Why the hell they think that should like don't get me wrong, I agree with the general gist of
that's
the
a nice thing to
non-aggression
do.
principle, but the problem
Go ahead.
but the problem is that that's not something that everyone will agree on in any way, shape, or form. So
and if you
it's
have no state, you
functionally
can't
useless.
stop them. Yeah, it's functional.
And the primary issue is that even if everybody did agree, even if everybody went, oh yeah, you know what, the non-aggression principle is a damn good idea, you still run into the problem that
Defectors.
aggression is not something that can be defined. It's not something that can be easily defined because the running example, I walk on, I walk across this section of land that you've jammed your dick into. Am I now, am I aggressing on you? I'm going onto this property that you say is yours.
And
is that aggression? Yeah. Yes or no?
And
if
to
it is
build off
aggression,
that-
then why?
And to build off that, no matter what my answer is, it doesn't fucking matter unless you and everyone else agrees with me, because otherwise, someone's gonna get shot. They don't know how to deal with people saying, well, first they go, you cannot initiate violence against someone, and they never have a response for, okay, why not? Because they're saying it's like, this is a rule we will all adhere to. Okay, how do you deal with people who decide not to obey that rule, like every other society has to deal with? And they never have a good answer. They just assume we'll do it. We had a brief visitor to the forums who's a big fan of J-Rod's posting, who you may recall. I don't know how to pronounce his forum's name. It was some Japanese thing.
Shiranahito?
Yeah. Who?
Yeah, that guy. I love that guy.
Yeah, we're getting...
Was that the guy who rage quit about how we were all meanies or something?
And then he came back for a post, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that guy.
Yeah, I remember that.
Who just sort of refused to, like, and I'm wondering, is this what ANCAPs will normally do when confronted with these questions? Is just, just shut down. Sorry, it violates the NAP. We're not going to discuss that scenario. Or fuck you, and violates the NAP next question. It's not even worth talking about if it violates the NAP. Well, of course, how can you have a functional society if that society doesn't have a way to address people breaking its most fundamental rules? Like, I think it's fair to say we could not call what we have a functional society if we didn't have a way to deal with, other people, I don't know, eating people. Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's why it all falls down at the first hurdle. There is no way for the society to enforce its most fundamental basic rules equally, so that there is a level field, to put it that way.
Well, they don't necessarily agree that a level field is something that needs to be
but
there.
just in the case of the NAP, there's no way to actually enforce it, to give it the force of law, apart from, hey, we'll all agree to do this. Is that cool? Cool. We're all agreed, right?
And
no.
They have no answer to you, me, Caros, Dickeye, and WhoWhatNow going off and pulling our capital together to hire a bunch of orphan child soldiers and start Valhalla DRO and say, and we're calling it a DRO, but it's a state within our territory. It's a state. They have no way of dealing with it being a state. To say that we can't do this, they have no way of doing it. But because especially if we adhere to their petty little legal fictions.
Have we explained a DRO yet?
Right. Yeah. So dispute resolution organization. It's basically contract cops.
It is exactly what it sounds like.
Yeah. And it's and it ranges from these will just be lawyers and court systems that people can get arbitration at, to full on they're a mercenary force that will run a police state to make sure everyone is following the rules. A la Mr. What's his name? The guy Caros is talking about. Molyneux. Yeah, Molyneux, who says, we should all we would all have to. It's like, imagine if your insurance company got to watch your every move and send men with guns to your house. And you pay for this.
Guns.
Yes, and you pay for this. That's your range of dispute resolution. If that sounds like mercenaries enforcing their own will on everyone, well, you're just a dumb statist who doesn't understand the argument, which leads us into...
Well, the idea behind...
Yeah, go ahead.
The idea behind DROs isn't necessarily, 100% flawed. The way it was described was so hilarious that it's just brainless. DROs within a certain, tiny fraction could kind of make sense in, weird... I'm even drawing a blank for how to do it right now. I know
in the same way that police right now makes sense. Maybe.
Yeah, you could have a DRO system that sort of made sense, but the issue is that at the end of the day, it's shittier than what we have now, and it's not optional. And that's the issue. The biggest complaint that I always had with the Molyneux thing, and it's one that gets glossed over under the police coming and dragging your daughter out for losing her virginity or whatever, is just that. At the end of the day, you've got police. What you have is a police system that you need to be it's called voluntary. But if you're not participating in it, you can't live in society, and that speaks to exactly the problem that libertarians have in general, and NCAP specifically, in that what's voluntary gets really weird when you're in a situation like that. Sign up for this police state or die. That is a voluntary choice, I guess. Maybe? I don't know.
And it should also for those playing this game at home, it should be noted that this is a lovely logical pretzel. Because by arguing for individual liberty and the non-aggression principle, they have actually gone around the other end and arrived at the most dystopian, brutalizing police state imaginable, but it's free.
Yeah.
Well, right, and there's also the whole thing about if you're married to somebody and you're both members of the same DRO, and one of you wants to leave, should they be forced to divorce their partner because now they're in violation of the DRO's rules of their area? To which J-Rod would say yes.
So DROs,
which he has said yes.
In practice, we imagine would range from a really shitty, expensive version of the police we have now, which a lot of people already have problems with, to nightmare warlordism.
Yeah.
It's the police, but you pay for them directly instead of just through your taxes.
Yeah, because, that sounds
and
super
also
cool.
They have no oversight whatsoever. Like, even less than we have now.
Yeah. So that's what...
Yeah, because at
I
the moment you get into competing
problems.
police forces... Yeah, like the moment you get into competing police forces, like just that statement.
Yeah.
Competing police forces. That is the most batshit thing, because the entire function of a judicial system is that they're the ones with the last word. You murder someone, the police arrest you, the police imprison you. They have the authority to do this because everyone agrees they have the authority to do this. The moment you have two different competing police departments, one of two things is going to happen. Either the two are in conflict, say I'm with DRO A and you're with DRO B, I murder you, and I don't have an agreement with you. I don't have an agreement with DRO B. They don't have the legal whatsoever to actually have me arrested. They have to go through my DRO, which tells them to go suck a lemon. So now there's either no justice or there's physical violence as a result of what should be a basic policing matter, or the two are colluding, and the second I kill someone in DRO B, I go to court anyways, at which point, is there a difference? If both of them are colluding and they have all of the same things, you're effectively, like, there's no choice there. Like, you might, at that point, you're choosing the difference between, to use the Canadian companies like Rogers and Bell, where the difference is how much data do you want for NHL games.
Well, and the other thing that I don't think we've brought up yet is what happens when your DRO and the other guy's DRO get together and they can't come to an agreement. Now what do? They hire a third DRO. And it just turns into this spiral where nobody really it never really ends, because as long as somebody doesn't disagree, they just go, well, fuck that guy, I'm going to go hire somebody else who will agree with me.
Yes.
Well, if you ever get a chance, listen to... Walter Block did an interview with Sam Cedar, and he's discussing the libertarian system, and it is the craziest thing, because he's like, okay, so you have A and B courts, and if the two people can't agree, then they would go to the C court, and if the C court comes up with a decision that they don't like, then they can appeal to a D court, and it just spirals off into this crazy ass nightmare of, like, how does that even work? You're literally just paying for courts until everybody can agree, but when you're talking about two people who are in a legal battle, they're not likely to agree on which court they want to use.
Are you saying that libertarianism is illogical and silly? Because that is just fucking wrong, you statist thug.
We are a bit far afield right now. Speaking of getting sucked into J-Rod's incredibly insane bullshit, let's talk about what really pisses... let's forget his crazy-ass political views that he can focus on. What really gets people's goat is J-Rod's argument style, which is lots of words, and then...
no substance.
Yeah. Full of crazy bullshit. And, then he gets, and then he says, I would like to hear debate.
Oh my god, I would like to hear debate. I love it.
No.
Every time.
Yeah. But it becomes immediately, then, some people respond to him. Right, and you'll probably get substantial replies, and you'll get a few people going, "Yeah, you're an idiot fucker," because we're on SA and that's what you do.
Excuse me, he's a watermelon fucker, not an idiot fucker.
Okay, watermelons qualify
might
as
be
idiots. Dumb. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, okay.
And then he'll mostly respond to the short version because he expects us to read all of his crap, but
or anybody who talks about
Right.
race. Anybody who talks about race, he will
he expects
always
us to read all of his
And-
crap, but he doesn't want to read all of our crap. So he'll mostly go for the shorter replies, which is mostly people calling him a watermelon fucker or racist, which
Well,
he is.
I talked about this on the thread today. He's been bitching because I've been offering him a debate for ages and ages, and I mean this was ridiculously easy to set up, all things considered.
I did this with like 50 people. Okay, 5, whatever.
Yeah, it's stupid easy. We could easily set up a debate, but I don't have enough time. I'm busy. I work 12 hours a day. I have my day job where I work 9 hours a day. Then I come home and I write for about 3 hours, and then maybe I get about 6 hours sleep sometime in there between the gym and everything else in my life. He can't find 2 hours. He argues that he can't find 2 hours, yet he can.
But
write
he's so
blocks of
beautiful,
text.
and the brand of his voice will be so important that he can't have it be
See,
tainted
that's-
with our inferior debate. Please continue, whoever was trying to speak.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to try and
Go
cut
ahead.
in, but that's not even what gets me. Isn't the I look forward to debate? It's the here is my opinion on something that he doesn't want to argue about. Usually on whether Hans Hermann Hoppe is racist or whether he is. I'm not. We all know this. Or whether Stefan Molyneux is a misogynist. He is. Or anything like that, and he'll go, well, this is my opinion. This is it, and I'm done talking about this. And then you go,
Yeah,
he tries to have the last word and then tell you he's having the last word instead of like just letting it drop. He goes,
Yeah,
stop
well,
talking about it. Now here's what I have to say. And you're, no, fuck you. You don't get to do that. That's not how people interact.
I've gone off on him probably 10 times. Just you don't want to talk about racism. Stop talking about racism, because he comes into the thread. He is the focusing point. If he doesn't want to talk about racism, he can easily ignore you can say, I am not talking about, like, you can just quote it and say, I am not talking about racism, and then quote a different post and continue. And no one would give him shit about it. Everybody would be like, he
because
doesn't
that
want
would
to
be
talk
a
about racism.
legitimate way to deal with it instead of I don't want to talk about racism. Now here's a wall of text about why the natural social elite is actually rich people and not white people.
Well, and then you also have the other problem with his argument style, as I've talked about in the thread, is that he works off of he does basically the libertarian thing, which is he works off of assumptions and expects us to acknowledge those assumptions. Like, he'll come into a thread and talk about government is immoral because taxation is theft.
Well, I
but
disagree
he
with
hasn't
that.
proved
Well,
that
then
he hasn't proved that taxation is theft. So before we can even have the discussion that he wants to have, we have to talk about something else. But he refuses
He's
to
unwilling
talk
to
about
back
that
that
other
up.
thing.
J-Rod.
Well, that's the
And-
thing. If he won't admit he's wrong, he won't explain why he's right. He just keeps saying, I'm right because I'm right, therefore you're wrong. And that's the end of the discussion.
He'll ignore everything
It's
you
the
said
praxeology
and
thing.
pretend like you acknowledge his premise. I believe TLM was trying to say something.
Yes.
Go ahead,
The
Jill.
most recent example is the list he posted to just quick.
Economically free countries.
Yes, to quickly recap the argument.
From the Cato
posted
Institute.
a list of countries from the Cato Institute arguing that these were more economic free countries than the US and the West in general, and that we should aspire to adopt their policies. The only trouble with that list is that there were 2 countries on that list that shouldn't really be there, and that's Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. For those of you who don't know, these are slave states. They import foreign workers, confiscate their passports, and basically indenture them to companies that use them as basically slave labor. Qatar has been in hot
And I'm
water
going to be
for this.
rude and
Not even
cut in
basically just
here
is.
really quick. For those of you who want to try to argue that this is not in fact slavery, for whatever reason, I will note that it does perfectly describe what we used to call indentured servitude, and that was also banned at the same time that we banned slavery. Like, explicit child slavery. But please continue, JLM. Thank you.
Indeed, and thank you for that. I lost my train of thought there. Yes.
I'm terribly sorry.
And this was pointed out gently and somewhat not so gently to Jrodefeld that some of these countries don't actually belong on a list of free anything. to which he began talking about, is this actual chattel slavery, or are we just talking about union members being whiny little bitches?
That was the third time I wanted him to unironically kill himself.
At which point I kind of lost my shit, I
one.
must admit, because we are talking about what is de facto slavery. I mean, Amnesty International, the UN, pretty much every European government, and even the International Soccer League, have pointed out that, whoa, shit, this is not on, people. This is slave labor you're using to build the World Cup stadiums in Qatar. And no, apparently these are just whiny union members who do not get enough benefits. And I wanted to reach through the internet and strangle the man.
I would also like to point out, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I just have his post history here from the most recent thread where this debate happened, pulled up just his posts, and that post was on October 15th, the same day that he also did the tough guy, you wouldn't say that to my face at me, and I was
How
like, yes,
did that fight turn out, Dickeye?
He still hasn't gotten in touch with me. I think it's going to end about the same way the debate will, in that he will be a coward, which is the thing that bothers me the most. I've used that word a lot, but I'll circle back around to that in a second. That was on October 15th. His next posts after October 15th were November 19th. He was responding to posts from before that day, did not respond to a single post for another month and 4 days. I think that was also when he did the... Yep, that is also when he did the, hey, let's just talk about us, let's kind of get to know each other post.
Yes.
After he had just dropped the slave labor
next
states
part
thing.
of the...
And then a month later...
And I'll let you continue with
he comes back.
But that's the next part of the J-Rod. After imagine all the annoyance we've expressed now, and then he disappears for a month, and then we start again like nothing happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead, Dickeye, with what you're saying.
The whole disappearing thing kind of circles around what I was about to say. I use the word coward to refer to him a lot, and I think it's a great word because he has all these convictions, theoretically, that property rights are the only rights, that, all of his bullshit. I don't even need to go back through it because we just did that.
Yep.
But he has all these beliefs, and then when you call them on him, he won't back them up. The only thing he will do is run away and then come back and start over like nothing happened. It is seriously the most cowardly shit.
And this is after expressing opinions on very controversial opinions, like, war has only been profitably waged. This is a walk back, but this is where you walk back to. War has only been profitably. This is how I got started with J-Rod. War has only been profitably waged by states using fiat money, which is like, yeah, wow.
Well, didn't you know that the Mongols were all about the tiny mice skins? They traded those as fiat currency.
We provided examples of non-states using fiat money to wage war profitably. We provide examples of states using non-fiat money to wage war profitably. We provide examples of non-states using non-fiat money waging war for profit. He ignored all of this like we never said anything, and that shit infuriates people to no end. And that's right about when I stopped taking him seriously, but before I started actively hating him.
Dutch East India Company.
Yeah,
For
the Vikings.
Fuck's sake.
All of them.
I would also, I'm sorry, last thing I'm going to say, and I'll let somebody else talk, but with the whole vanishing for a while thing, I'm also looking at just his post history in general. He started the most recent thread on October 9th. His last post in the old thread, before he started the new one, was June 5th. So, 4 months?
Yeah. Disappeared for about 4 months there. Yeah, that should be something we know.
And then just comes back and is like, whatever.
After, normally with the cycle of life of a J-Rod thread is, after several months of doing it, and people getting increasingly more and more disenchanted is not the right word, but it's going to be the one I use with J-Rod. It'll eventually just end in him not posting for 4 months, and then he either gets banned for it, or before he does this, he starts another thread where he basically does the exact same goddamn thing with maybe a slightly different premise to talk about. And we go through the whole thing again. And this happened enough times that Caros decided, that the mods were like, fuck off forever. Where Caros was like, okay, mods. I actually want to keep talking to this guy because Caros has to save everyone from libertarianism because it's a cult. And he
hey, we saved Lolita's son.
We did.
Oh, that did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he does this, and so Caros said, "Okay, I'm going to make it mods. If I make a thread and he only posts in that thread, please don't ban him." And this and he did so, and this continued for at least a year, I want to say.
We were over a year.
Yeah.
And so the fall of 2013.
And this continued, and we were all very, very upset with Jrod, but he wasn't, committing forums terrorism, so, it was fine. But he decided that this wasn't good enough because Caros is just being super mean and poisoned the well against him.
Caros was the only person who didn't just melt down on him every time he posted. By the way,
Caros,
line by line, Seft level.
Caros is super fucking nice to him on the forums.
If he'd ever gone through if he'd gone through the effort to contact me, I would have been happy to make a more balanced libertarian thread. But no, and instead he does this. And for me, the pinnacle of his newest thread is the fact that it's a shit post.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that he's been on those forums for at this point 3 or 4 years, depending. Well, he's been on for 3, but I think he was on under a different name or something before that one as well. But he's been on for at least 3 years, and he still doesn't know how to tag a thread. It's the most basic fucking thing. It's right up there. You pick one. But no, he can't be bothered, and it's astonishing to me that he can be that. Because it just shows such a total lack of respect for the place he's coming on to. Because I'm gonna be honest, I am a goon. A lot of the stuff that I do on a daily basis, there are times when my wife's out of town that I talk to goons more than I talk to regular people. As sad as that is, because I work I work from home, so I don't really see people all the time.
SA, to quote Fiat, is a place.
And he comes into my house and gives shit.
It's a place we go to for fun times with friends.
Exactly.
And Caros I think and Dickeye will back up. Jrod has not been a very good fun friend.
No shit.
He is not. Goons will tolerate an immense amount of shit, barring pedo shit from each other.
Yeah.
If you just try to be part of the group. And
citation, I'm still posting. I mean,
yeah, right.
I'm literally the worst.
Yeah, right. And it's just baffling to me that he's only here to preach. He's not actually. That's the fundamental thing. You can't accept his premise that he is here to, have a conversation, because that's not true at all. He is here to hand you his Bible and ask you if you have any questions.
If you wanted to have a conversation, I've got this fancy-ass microphone right here. I have offered multiple times to buy him a microphone. Send it out to him. I'll get up at 3 a.m. to have a discussion with him so that he can, so that we can have a reasonable back and forth. But he won't, because he's too handsome, I guess.
Because he's a coward. Oh, yeah, because that's right. We were going to be too distracted by how pretty he was or something.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't believe he's like, well, I don't want to show pictures of myself, but here are some celebrities that I want.
Yeah.
Hey, person, we don't have you being recorded right now, so when I put this up, no one's going to hear anything you're saying. So go ahead, if you have a question, go ahead and ask it, and I'll say what it was, and we'll respond. But okay, he muted himself.
Questions from the audience.
Sorry to be an asshole about that, but I'm being an asshole and trying to record all this to put it up later because I'm a weirdo. So thank you for doing that. Cool.
He think he's gonna put it in the chat.
He typed
window.
No problem. But if you have something you want to say or ask, and just put it in the chat window, and I will repeat it to thank you for your cooperation. But I think we're approaching 2 hours now. Does Caros post anywhere other than D&D? Yes, he does. I can say for a fact that he does.
Fuck yeah.
We post about Gundam together.
I got probated for arguing about Gundam too much.
we got about and how ideologically correct the most recent offering is.
Gundam
the answer
series?
is very.
Yeah.
Is it? I haven't seen it
Yeah.
yet.
Child soldiers execute their asshole adult leaders in like the second episode. When they're like up against the wall. It's great.
That is fairly ideologically correct.
It owns fairly hard.
But it does not have racist stereotype robots fighting in a giant boxing ring that circles the earth.
No,
so
actually, they're doing
they're
doing a pretty cool cultural fusion thing. But let's unfortunately TLM.
Let's wrap it up with watermelon fucking. Yeah.
Unfortunately, TLM has had to drop out, as I believe did WhoWhatNow. I assume he had to go take care of his sick wife. So shame on you, WhoWhatNow. Get your priorities straight. You fucker.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Anyway, so it's down to the three of us. So let's just say just identify the moment for me, if you would, when you just stopped caring what this motherfucker had to say and just started calling him a watermelon fucker. If you have one in particular, if not, just pick
I know
one.
Caros has one, because I remember seeing you freak out on him once.
Yeah, I can't remember what the specific one was. That's what's bothering me. Because I know I had one moment. I think it was something.
It was
yeah, it was in the old thread. I'll have to find it at some point.
Was
it
the anti-vax?
It was anti-vax.
Because that was it.
It might have been anti-vax.
Yeah, I think it was the
last fall.
anti-vax.
Where
I think for me the pinnacle of Jrodefeld for me is one of two things. Either you're not a you didn't stop being a libertarian because of a horrible personal tragedy. You stopped being a libertarian because some
there
other
must be
reason
some
that he
other
imagines.
reason.
Because no one can
could not be possibly as bad as your stated reason.
Yeah, it's that is one of my favorites. But my other, I think, would probably be the tooth enamel thing, because that one's not a bad one. That one's just are you fucking kidding? You got your tooth enamel drilled out because of, and then I drop truth bombs on them. I drop, the American Dental Association says you don't need to get your dental.
But that's a
amalgam
government
out.
organization, according to J-Rod.
And if you do, you're getting more mercury in your blood as a result. Like it's actively worse for you if you do, and just on and on. And I dropped all these things on him. He still doesn't believe it, and it's just. It broke my brain a little, because what's the end result there? Because I can see the argument for vaccines. I can see the argument. You know what? We want to put these vaccines in you that you don't need because we get to charge per vaccine. They're already putting dental. They're already putting dental fillings into your teeth. They're already doing something to your teeth. Why is big amalgam involved?
Yes. So, TLM, thank you for rejoining us. We're talking about the moment specifically when we decided J-Rod is a watermelon fucker, and not to be taken seriously at any point, and not even to be debated seriously.
Oh boy.
Right, say your real name. I'll bleep that out. J-Rod does not post anywhere besides his threads at all.
Yeah, I actually went back as far as I could in his post history, and all of them are from D&D. I can't find anything else. That's all he posts about. He does not post about his interests, nothing else.
He's literally never posted a single post about anything other than libertarianism. He's posted outside of libertarian threads, but only in the context of libertarianism. One of his bans was in a 2012 politics thread, where somebody posted the Ron Paul video standing in front of a Confederate flag talking about secession, and Ron Paul had to jump in there and talk about how that's not really about secession, you see.
Yeah, I mean, going as far back as I can, it gets you the straight marriage is illegal now thread, aka the gay marriage thread.
Sea to shining sea.
And it's just him. Marriage has not always been involved with governments. It's just a contract. We can just do a contract. You don't need the government to keep an eye on that so that everybody's rights are enforced or anything.
Yep. So yeah, that for me, it was anti-vax. He basically Rand Paul said some dumb shit that he ended up walking back later about mandatory vaccinations. And J-Rod, because I guess it was coming up in the circles that he reads when he's not committing forums terrorism, is decided that it would be great to come back and talk. Yeah, I forget what we were talking about before that, but I think it was healthcare. Come back and talk. Probably. We try to get him to talk about healthcare a lot, and he usually just refuses to, because we've always refuted all his talking points about it a billion fucking times now.
Oh, I'm sorry, again, don't mean to interrupt, but we forgot to bring this up during the what pisses you off about J-Road thing. His plagiarism. He straight up will just go, and not even his plagiarism, because he's only done that, once that we've caught, but his willingness just to go, well, there's a Von Mises article about...
I seriously thought he was a
and he'll
paid
just
shill
post
for
a
that
link.
for that website for a little while, because the things he would post about it is so filleting verbally that sounds like fucking ad copy.
It wouldn't even bother me so much if he made his own argument and was like, this is what I believe, and here's some citations. But he doesn't post them as a citation to back up.
He expects us to read it.
He posts them as the argument itself. Period.
Yeah. So he
I'm not doing that. Sorry.
Rand Paul said, "Don't think." He comes in trying to defend Rand Paul, and I'm like, you motherfucker! This is getting actual real children killed, and not just one or two. This is something so fundamental to our safety as a civilization.
Well, my niece had whooping cough because of idiots like him who go, the government says you should get vaccines, so they must be bad.
Here's the thing. You know what has killed the most humans? It ain't humans. It's not wolves. It's not starvation. It's not meteors from space. It's disease. And the only real society-wide defense we have against disease is vaccination. And people come in, and then he's coming in and like, oh, well, you shouldn't be forced to get... Yes, you should, because you're basically attempting murder on everyone around you the every moment you're not.
Violating the non-aggression principle.
Yeah, like real fucking hard. Yeah, if the non-aggression principle is not complete crap, it would have to say not being vaccinated is a violation. Because I don't know how you get more violent than death.
Yeah.
Yeah. So TLM.
Because you are choosing to come around me when I'm sick, sir.
That's usually what they retreat to because they're infants. But TLM, did you have one? Was it the slave state thing or the Lysander Spooter thing where you just said this guy's a fucker and I'm not gonna deal with this crap anymore?
Oh God. When was it that I decided that I wouldn't put much effort into it? I do believe that it was a combination of the plagiarism and once again trying to appropriate Lysander Spooner as an intellectual antecedent to his argument. Because at that point it's like you're falsifying history and you're ripping your argument or plagiarizing your argument style from some other source, and you're not even going to bother to put in the effort to formulate your own thoughts. Okay, I'm pretty much done with this. And I say this as I mean, I outed myself as a legit Marxist in the first thread, and it's like, yes, I base my worldview on, Marx's Capital, but that doesn't mean you can't do thinking outside of it, and it doesn't mean it has to be your answer to everything. And progress has happened since that book was written. It's like
Frederick Marx, and you don't think you don't think Frederick Engels and Karl Marx had all the answers forever?
No, of course not. And they even say, and Marx even says so in the book. It's like this is an analysis of capitalism as it exists now. Developments will happen, and we need to be aware of this and adjust accordingly as history progresses. And to not do that would be to fall into the same fetishization and worship and religious fundamentalism that J-Road is apparently fallen into, and which, unfortunately, a lot of leftists have done as well. I mean, you need to be able to think for yourself in order to develop a coherent argument for or against. And there are a lot of critiques that could be leveled against Marxism.
Yes, so dear listeners, you have heard 5 different approaches for why J-Rod's a fucker and we hate him, and why his ideology is bankrupt and no one takes it seriously. So now that that's done, let's go into the bonus round, aka the reason Dickeye is actually here, and talk about some of
yeah.
the weirdos that sort of orbit the kind of
boy.
people that J-Rod is.
boy.
Specifically, I believe there was a request to discuss sovereign citizens and freemen on the land, who, as I understand it, are very sad people who either don't want to pay child support and speeding tickets, or have fallen for a scam, basically.
Well, it's both. Well, a lot of it is, this is a thing I really want to talk about because it's a thing that I'm really interested in because it's so fucking bizarre and it's so hilarious, while also being horrifyingly depressing once you start like looking into the reasons behind it. A lot of them are mentally ill. For those people who don't know, sovereign citizens, freemen on the land, whatever, are whatever variety. There's a million different strains that all believe different combinations of the same core beliefs. But the end result is the law only works because everybody has agreed to let it work, and if you know the right words to say, you can get out of it. I think the best description I've heard is they look at the law and the courts and the police as like demons, and they are wizards, and if they say the right words in the right order, they bind those demons to their will and can do whatever the fuck they want, because I'm the demon master. So a lot of them are mentally ill. A lot of them are poor as shit. And they all fall for scams. They all either fall for crazy people who honestly believe what they're saying, or scam artists selling them packets of, air quotes, legal documents that they can use to, for example, claim the $1 billion in the secret government bank account that was opened in their name when they were born, to pay off their debts.
So full on crazy. Yeah. My understanding, Caros had to drop out just now to go talk to us. You fucking married people. They have just been abandoning us left and right tonight. So I'm going to go ahead and say his goodbyes for him. Thank you for participating, Caros. I will say your name right the first times eventually. He is one of the few people who, despite being absolutely disgusted with J-Rod, still continues to post substantively at him, along with other forums posters like Toxic Slurpee and Quark Jets, and Cemetery Gator, I think, still does it, and I don't understand why, but God bless him for doing so. But please pick up where you left off, Dickeye.
But yeah, so there's a lot of common strains of Sovsit that are hilarious, and somebody jump in, because, like, I mean,
this is thuggery.
Yeah, that's one of them.
This is the one you're going to see on YouTube when you look up Sovereign. You're going to see guys.
It's a very famous one.
Yeah.
It's well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're going to see guys, trying to get out of a speeding ticket, like after being pulled over the officer, by casting their magic spells at this demon that is representing, the corporation that is the state, or whatever crazy strain of bullshit they. Or you're going to see guys in a court talking about Admiralty courts and gold fringe flags. They made fun of this on King of the Hill, for God's sake. This is how long it's been around.
Oh my God, that's right.
Dale Gribble ends up in court and informs the judge that the flag has a gold fringe, which means this is an Admiralty court.
Oh my
Therefore,
God.
we're being tried by Admiralty law. Also, my name is Rusty Shackelford. This is stuff people have known about for a while, and you tend to get them in the same strain of thought as libertarians.
Yeah.
And they tend...
And a lot of it just all comes from that place of, you can't tell me what to do. Fuck you, Dad.
Dad being the state.
Yes.
It's, go ahead.
And there's also the convergence about treating the state as a corporation that is eerily reminiscent, to me at least, of the DRO structure that have been proposed by libertarians, because it's like, well, if I don't agree to the corporation's policy, I can just contract myself out of it, or contract with another corporation that will protect me from the evil magic law demons.
Well, and the thing with Sovsits isn't even that they don't agree with it, it's that they think that it's a sham that is only propped up by our ignorance because we've been told things. Because we've all been sold into this system that doesn't actually work, but if you like let it work, it will. But if you're smart enough to logic your way out of it using logic that isn't logical at all, you can get away with murder.
Yeah.
Or at least speeding.
Basically, they think Morpheus has handed them the red pill, and that they have a way to get us all out of the Matrix. But this is sadly not the case. And it's the way I think of it is, if libertarians are people with religion, Sovsits are people with religion who also believe in for real demons and magic that will affect your daily life. I was
about to say, if libertarians are religious people, Sovsits are the snake handlers talking in tongues like Pentecostals.
Yeah, it's
yeah, I mean, they're the ones you see on YouTube that are, the guys refuse to stop for like a DUI checkpoint in Australia. This is one of my favorite ones. And he's being chased by like 10 cop cars, and the guy's just like, woohoo, freedom on the land, like he's gonna get away with it. And instead what happens is they pull him over and tell him to open the window, and he says no, so they
he keeps asking if he's under arrest.
Am I under arrest? And they go, yes, and then smash his window, and then he drops the camera while screaming, this is thuggery, you can't do this, this is thuggery.
I do not consent.
I do not consent. I do not create
yes. There
Those
is a
guys.
video on YouTube that you should Google. I can't remember the title of it, but it is a guy it's the guy being tased as he's going into court.
Oh, there's a bunch of those. Oh, yeah, that is also. I will actually find that because those are both in a compilation that I truly love and I post whenever I can. They tell him if you keep coming, if you don't shut the camera off, you will be tased, and he goes, "No, I won't." So they tase him. It's hilarious.
And
these guns work. Fascinating.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Whenever I watch that video, I have sort of mixed feelings because at one point, on the one hand, I'm watching a mentally ill person get electrocuted, basically abused. But on the other hand, he is, again,
such an asshole,
such a smug little prick about it.
Mentally ill people, while they deserve your sympathy, are rarely super nice and pleasant to deal with. Sovsits often straddle that line between, is this person like crazy or just really, really stupid and really, really desperate?
Well, and the other thing is,
that's why that's why we more laugh at them than give them vitriol, is because they're more on the victim side of the spectrum than people who believe crazy bullshit.
They really only hurt themselves.
Yeah, mostly. Well, unless they're speeding.
Or the people who are trying to get out of paying child support. But even a lot of them, they're not so much trying to get out of it. A lot of the time when you see that case, it's the people trying to access their secret bank account.
So they can pay it.
Right. Which, they're trying to do the right thing. They're just still crazier than shit. But the thing that really makes Sovsits hard to feel sympathy for is, when we talked about J-Rod, we talked about the condescension and the smugness. That is a huge part of it. Is they're like, these goddamn idiots don't understand how, if you just say that you're not creating joinder and point out that this is an admiralty court, I'm about
basically they're like libertarians in that they think that they've gotten their letter and their ticket to platform 9 3/4, and they're going to fucking Hogwarts. And they've been and come back, and now they know how to cast the spells to make us all the stupid muggles we should be pitied. And that's gonna piss people right the hell. It's like a guy who half your size, rolling up to you and saying, "Let's fight." I'm totally gonna win, and you go, "Really, dude? Really?" And then you actually do get in the fight, and he can't throw a punch. But he's still being condescending, and you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
You only beat me because you know how to throw a punch.
It's like,
It's not. Yeah, it is kind of why I beat you. But the other great thing about Sovsits that you see a lot is they have this weird fascination with the words and the not actual meanings of them.
Another thing
one of my other favorite. Yes, but it's even more pronounced with Sovsits, which, incidentally, I love, and I've said this before, because it sounds like something you would see in, a Judge Dredd comic, like that word, Sovsits. But anyways,
It totally does.
It does.
Holy
but,
shit! I just realized that.
Right? But one of the things I really love, one of the videos I really love, and I've posted it a million times before, is it's this old guy, and the video is like half out of focus, and it's this heavy-set old dude, talking about how we are all boats because when you are born, you are delivered via the birth canal, and the way he's emphasizing the words, you can tell he's like emphasizing the pun, like the homophone of it. Like the
Am I the only person who realizes
signs your
this?
birth certificate, and like you can hear him spelling the word birth with an E, like a ship, in when he says it. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
that's one of my favorite things, is how they get all hung up on these words and are not remotely right, to the point where that one judge in Canada wrote like a 200-page brief just about how fucking
I've read
insane
that
they
brief.
are.
It is amazing.
It is.
I have it open in another tab. I've been slowly reading it for like 3 weeks.
It is a gorgeous document, and it should actually be in the video description of this, because it is something that needs to be read.
I will get that link from Dickeye in like a PM or something later, and be sure to include it and some of the video links he is talking about.
The best part about that, though, is some of the people in the Bitcoin thread, which... holy shit, we talked about Bitcoin and Libertarians.
Oh man, I wish we had the time, dude. I really do.
Oh
like
my God.
that's why I want to do another one of
anyways,
these. It's like get more people and
totally
just
down.
talk about some of the shit we've missed, because this is such a fucking deep well, and we have like skipped across the goddamn surface of the pond.
Yeah, no, I am totally down for doing this again. But the short version, just to wrap up what I was saying about Sopsits, my favorite thing about that brief, though, is some people in the Yaspaz Bitcoin thread linked a bunch of other Sopsit cases in Canada, like 4 or 5 other ones. They all referred back to Meads versus Meads, which is the case that the judge wrote the 100-page like write-up of the trial, so that he could go into the like recurring themes in Sopsit documents and like things they do, ways to identify them, so that you could deal with them properly. They all refer back to him.
All right, I think that's a good place to stop for the night. So let's say our goodbyes. If we're any last thing you guys would like to say, please go ahead and say it, and I will see us out.
Well,
for the recording.
I apologize for the history derails, but I did.
They are greatly appreciated.
I did, minor in history, and read history voraciously. But yeah, libertarians, crazy, crazy, crazy people. If you encounter them, again, there is help to be found. And Sopsits, get them treatment if you can. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. My name's Dickeye. I approve all of this message. Vote for me, 2016.
Dickeye for mod. Okay.
Dickeye for mod of BSS.
And I'm Paragon. I'd like to thank you both
happen.
for being here today, and for all of our listeners for being here. You're all cool, interesting people, and I'm sorry you were not in the call properly. Thank you to Caros. I did it right this time. And WhoWhatNow, who had to drop out early for important wife reasons that I do not understand, but I'm sure are important. And hopefully I will be able to get your audio, and there won't be large sections of this where we're just talking to people who do not appear to be there. Thank you all for listening, those of you who do. And hopefully this wasn't just this weird, huge, annoying thing of us talking for 2 hours, and you got something out of it. And goodbye.